I'm continuing with this Wheat Stitch Amigurumi collection, and today we're going to be making the whale. He is so cute. I love this cute little whale, and we're going to be using the Hirschner's Ami yarn. This is a really fun yarn to work with. It's made for amigurumi, so it's a great yarn for that. I'm going to be using the color Sapphire and the color White. You can choose whichever colors you want. And I just also want to note that I've done several of these whales. One, you can kind of see him here on camera. He is done in the Hirschner's worsted yarn. Super cute. Totally love it. So I just wanted to show you that you can do these in different yarns. I even have one in a fuzzy yarn. This from Lion Brand. It's the Lion Brand Bliss This, but that link is at the bottom of the YouTube video, but I just want to say that if you are going to use that yarn, it's an advanced yarn. I would consider that an advanced yarn. The reason why is you can't really see your stitches. You need to be really comfortable with almost crocheting a little bit blind at times and just filling out those stitches because of that fuzz. It's a fun yarn to work with, but if you're a beginner, I do not recommend it. The supplies we'll need today, of course, is some yarn. You will only need one ball of each of these. And then some scissors, a stitch marker, yarn needle to weave in those ends, some safety eyes. However, if you have toddlers or younger and you do want to give this to them, do not use safety eyes. It's not really safe for young children. And you can simply use black yarn to stitch on eyes. If you want to stitch on a cute little mouth, you can also use a small amount of black yarn for that as well. And then lastly, we will need a 4mm crochet hook. This is the one from Dot from We Crochet. And let's go ahead and get started. And I almost forgot. You'll also need some cute little fluff to fill this. This can also be substituted for yarn scraps. If you have yarn scraps around to fill your amigurumi, that's fine as well. Now, as we get started on this whale, we are first going to be making the smaller pieces so that they are ready when we want to attach them to the larger whale body. So we'll start by making the whale fins. We're going to make 2 of those. And then we're going to make the whale tail, and we'll set those pieces aside and start the whale body. So let's go ahead and get started by making 2 of those whale fins. We are going to start with a magic ring or magic circle, however you want to call it, and chain 1 to get started. Now inside this ring, we are going to single crochet 6. These are going to be worked continuously, so you'll want to have a stitch marker nearby. Now after single crocheting 6, you can go ahead and pull that ring closed. You don't even have to pull it all the way. Part of the way is fine. You can finish pulling it closed after you get this next round done. And for this next round, we're going to start, so we have 6 stitches for round 1, and we are going to start in the very first stitch, and we're working continuously, so we're not joining and chaining or anything. And we are going to do 2 single crochet stitches into the first. And then this is where you definitely want to grab a stitch marker and throw it in to that first stitch of the round. Now we're going to single crochet into the next 2 stitches. And then we are going to do 2 single crochet stitches into the next, and then single crochet into the next 2 stitches. And now at the end of round 2, we have 8 stitches. I'm going to tighten this down and kind of flip my work so that I have the right side facing out. Sometimes it curls in on me when I do this style, and that's okay. And now for round 3, we are going to move our stitch marker, and we are simply going to single crochet into each stitch around, marking that first stitch of the round so that you know when you are back to the beginning. So we're just going to single crochet 8. Now after single crocheting 8, we are going to slip stitch into that next stitch to even that out, and then fasten off. If you hate weaving ends, because I hate weaving in ends, you can simply gently, because you don't want to pull the stitches too tight, but you can gently tie these together to ensure they're not going to come undone. But we're going to be using these later and working into them, so you can place the strings inside of the work of the whale if you don't want to weave them in. You'll create 2 of these, so we have these cute 2 little fins, and then set them aside for later. Next, we are going to be doing the whale's tail, and this is going to be created in 2 small pieces that we will then join together. So to get started on the whale tail, to do the first 4 rounds of the first piece, we're going to start inside that magic ring, and then we're going to single crochet 6. And once again, this is going to be worked continuously, so you are going to want a stitch marker handy. Pull that ring, mostly closed. And now we're going to start round 2. So we're going to do 2 single crochet stitches into that very first stitch, marking the first stitch of this round. And now we will single crochet into the next. And we're going to repeat that all the way around. So we're going to do 2 single crochet stitches into the next, and then single crochet into the next. And after repeating that all the way around, this round 2 will have a total of 9 stitches. I'm going to pull that tail end pretty tight to make sure it's secure. And now we're going to start round 3. I'm going to move my stitch marker, and for round 3 we're increasing again. We're going to do 2 single crochet stitches, being sure to mark that very first stitch of this round. And now we're going to single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. And then we will do 2 single crochet stitches. So we're just repeating that all the way around, and single crochet into the next 2. And so at the end of round 3, we will have a total of 12 stitches. And then for round 4, we're going to move our stitch marker, and we're simply going to single crochet into each stitch around for round 4. Now for the first piece that we're making in this whale tail, the very end of it, we are going to fasten off, grab our yarn needle, and we're going to create an invisible join here. So we're going to skip the next stitch and go through the next as if to crochet it. And then we're going to go back down the last stitch we worked through the back loop only. And that just creates a mock stitch that evens it out, and our stitch count is still the same on the top. And then you can either weave in that end or gently tie it. I suggest weaving it in slightly. You don't have to necessarily worry about fastening it off. You can just leave it on the inside of this piece if you want. Now for rounds 8 and 9, I have simply single crocheted in each stitch around. So just single crocheting in 12 around, and then we're ready to fasten off and do an invisible join. And then if you want, you can weave up to this point and stitch close that hole. Next, we're going to be setting all of our pieces aside. We'll pick those back up in a minute, and we're going to be starting on the whale body. Now we'll want to create these eye cords for the top of the whale. Cute little water spout style amigurumi happening there. And to do so, we can simply use our crochet hook. So we don't need any special tools to make this eye cord. I love this method. If you've never done it before, I do have a full tutorial on it. So what we will do is we will make a slip knot, leaving our tail quite long. We're going to be making 2 different ones of these, and we're going to make them in a way that they're going to be no sew, which is phenomenal. So we're going to take our tail end down here to the left, and then we have the yarn leading to the ball to the right. We're going to hold these out to the left here, and we're going to take our crochet hook and we're going to loop around the bottom one. And then we're going to go yarn over with the top one, and then holding the base of it for this very first one, because you just need to hold this base. We're going to pull that through the 2 loops on the hook. So now here's how we do it again. We're going to take our hook and we're going to go do a yarn under essentially. So we're going to go down and over the bottom string and then yarn over with the top, pull through the loops on the hook. We're going to be creating 9 of these for our very first eye cord. So now that we have 9 I-cord stitches, we are simply going to fold it. So this will be our small loop here. We're going to fold it and we're going to place our hook through that very first one. and then yarn over and slip stitch it together. And now that has created our very first loop here, and we can go ahead and fasten off. You'll repeat those steps doing 12 I-cord stitches for the other loop that we'll want for the top of the whale. Now that we have this done, we fastened off here, we have our tail ends. We're going to leave those for now. We're going to do this again, and we're going to create 15 stitches for the second I-cord. And once you have those two made, you can simply set them aside with the other pieces for later. Now to get started on the whale body, we're still working with our blue color, and we're going to start by creating a magic ring, and then we are going to chain 1 and single crochet 12. So we want to single crochet 12 inside of this ring. We will be joining for this part of it so that we can do that beautiful wheat stitch, but it's still a good idea to have a stitch marker handy. Now, once you have 12 inside that ring, you can close it. This one's not going to close quite as tight yet. I wouldn't close it all the way because that will make it difficult to get into our stitches. So we want to go ahead and join to the very first stitch of this round with a slip stitch, and then we're going to turn. Now you can chain 1 or not, that's completely up to you. But you can chain 1, and then we are for this round we are going to be working in the back loops only. It's the back loops only for this round, and we are going to single crochet 2 stitches into each stitch around. So for this portion, yes, we will be joining and turning to do the top of the whale so that we can get that gorgeous wheat stitch, which is needing to be turned to look really good. So we are going to do 2 single crochet stitches into each around, which means at the end of round 2 we will have a total of 24 stitches. And when working that very last stitch of the round, it's the same that we slip stitch to join, so it's very easy to miss. So make sure when you're working these rounds you are working that last stitch. I'm not going to pull this down all the way just yet because of this next round. I really want to make sure my stitches are available for me to see without being too scrunched. We are going to move our stitch marker and slip stitch to join, and then turn our work and chain 1. Now we're going to be skipping this very first stitch in this round, and we're going to single crochet into the second stitch. This is the first stitch of our round. Now we're going to be working back into that skip stitch, yarning over, inserting our hook into the skip stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop to the same height as the first loop on the hook, yarn over and enter back into that same skip stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. We now have 5 loops on our hook. We are going to yarn over and pull through 4, and then yarn over and pull through 2 to complete that modified puff stitch. Be sure to mark the first stitch of this round. If you've never worked the wheat stitch, I do have a full tutorial on my blog and linked in the pattern. I highly suggest checking it out in rows before possibly working the rounds if you're struggling. Now we're going to skip the next and single crochet in the next, and then working back into that skip stitch, we are going to work a puff stitch. And that is going to be our repeat all the way around. So we're not increasing here. We will still end this round with 24 total stitches, working those modified puff style stitches, and we're going to work those all the way around. After working all the way around, we're going to move that stitch marker and slip stitch to join to the first stitch of that round. And now we are going to turn our work and work round 4. So round 4 is worked the same way. We're going to chain 1. We're going to skip the first stitch and single crochet into the next, and then work a puff stitch back into that skip stitch and mark the stitch. So this round once again is not increasing. We will remain at 24 stitches. And when you're working this, whenever you skip a stitch and work a single crochet, you're working the single crochet into the single crochet of the round below. And then when you're working back to that puff stitch, you're working in the same puff stitch from the round below. And we're just going to repeat that all the way around for round 4. Now that we've worked all the way around, I can tighten that center a bit more if I want. You can weave in that end. This is the right side of the work, so you will want to take care of that end. You don't want to leave it on the outside if it is on the outside. And now we are going to join to the very first stitch of this round. And once again, we will be turning our work. Now for rounds 5 and 6, we are going to be increasing again. We're going to start with the chain 1. We're going to be working in the back loops only for rounds 5 or 6, and we're going to be working those single crochet stitches. So in the very first, we're going to single crochet 2, and then mark the very first stitch of this round. And now we are going to single crochet into the next. And that's going to be our repeat around. So we're going to do 2 single crochets into the next, and then single crochet into the next, working all those in the back loop only. At the end of round 5, we will have a total of 36 stitches doing that increasing repeat all the way around. And now for round 6, at the end of round 5, we're going to join to the very first stitch of this round with a slip stitch, and then we're going to turn our work, chain 1, and in the very first stitch, working in the back loop only for round 6, we're going to do 2 single crochet stitches, placing your stitch marker at the beginning of the round, and then we are going to single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches, and that's going to be our increase for round 6. So we'll do 2 single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches, and then repeat that all the way around. At the end of round 6, we will have a total of 48 stitches. And now we've completed round 6 and we've joined. We're going to turn our work, chain 1, and then we are going to be repeating rounds 3 through 4 for rounds 7 through 8. And that's just those puff stitch rounds that we worked previously. No more increasing. We're just going to be doing those 2 rounds of the puff stitch style repeat to create that wheat stitch. So for rounds 7 and 8, just simply repeat rounds 3 through 4. Now for rounds 9 and 10, we are simply going to single crochet in the back loop only, no increasing, just single crocheting in the back loop only for each stitch around for rounds 9 and 10. Now for the next rounds, for rounds 11 through 14, we're going to be repeating these last 4 rounds. So we'll be repeating rounds 7 through 10. So we're going to work those last 4 rounds another time. Now for this next round, our pieces are going to come into play here. We're going to start doing some assembly as we continue to work this whale. And we're going to be working through our body piece here for this next round, single crocheting as normal. We don't need to do any single crocheting into that back loop. And we're also going to be working, we've joined, and now we're just going to keep working in the round. We're not going to be turning. So we're not going to turn at the end of the last row. So to work this next row, we're going to start by joining this tail. We're going to fold it in half here. So you're just going to grab the tail and you're going to fold it in half. And then we are first going to go through the tail, and when it's folded in half, we're going to grab 2 stitches. So we're going to go through each side when we squish it in half, and then we're going to go through the very next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2. So now we've single crocheted that all together. So let's do that again. We're going to be doing that for all of the 6 stitches on the whale, working through both sides of it and along the 6 stitches of the whale body. So we're going to go through both stitches on the edge of that for the tail, and then we're going to go through the next stitch on the body and single crochet all of that together. Let's do that one more time. We're just going to be working across all of these here, working 6 stitches. And this is what makes it not have the seaming going on. We're just going to be joining by single crocheting everything together. And now once we've worked through the whale's tail and the body stitches, we're going to be working some stitches all on their own. So we're going to single crochet 8 just along the body part. And now we're going to take a fin. So this is one of our fins. You can leave the tail end just kind of looping on the inside and work over it, or you can shove it in. Whatever you want to do, but you can hide it on the inside here. And we are going to fold this in half. And this is 4 stitches when it's folded in half. So we're going to be working through those first. So we're going to work through the fin stitches first, And then we're going to go along the edge here. We're going to single crochet into that next stitch. And then we're going to do that again. I'm going to kind of move that strand over and we're going to do it again. So at this point, we've worked across 3 stitches. And now we have one more. We're going to single crochet those together. And now we've worked those 4 stitches and our fin is connected. And now we're going to single crochet into the next 18 stitches. Now after working those 18 stitches, we're going to grab our next fin and squish that in half. And we're first going to be working through the stitches of the fin. Move this around there. Grab those first 2. We're going to go through those stitches and then insert our hook into the stitch along the body and single crochet that together. We're going to do that for all 4 stitches across, just like we did previously on the other side. And now we're going to single crochet 8 stitches until we get to the end of this round. All right, so now at this point, we're going to pause, and it's never a bad idea to grab a stitch marker and throw that in this loop here so that you don't happen to undo your work as we're kind of shifting things around. So now we have this cute little whale happening. So adorable. Now it's time to do a few of the details. So we're going to attach the eyes and we're going to be attaching these cute little water spouts. So to attach these water spouts, we're going to grab our hook and we're going to come from the inside with our crochet hook, and then we're going to come out the top. And we'll want to do these in slightly different places so that they tie together really well, but close to the center. And then we're going to pull one of the threads through, grab one of the threads, the tail ends, and pull that to the inside, pulling all the way through just the tail end. All right, so we have one strand in there. Now we're going to grab the other strand and we're going to go right next to it, but leaving some yarn in between. And we are going to pull the second strand all the way through. And now that that's through, we can go ahead and grab the small one. I don't like to tie them just yet until I make sure that my placement's just right. So now I'm going to grab the smaller of the 2. I'm going to do that one just in front of the one I just did by pulling those tail ends through to the body. So now once you've got the placement about where you want it, you'll want to tie the insides. So this is a way to avoid some sewing. You're going to tie these pretty tight to make sure that they're standing up and that their placement is exactly how you want them. But we're going to grab the strands on the inside and simply tie a tight knot, and that will secure that in place without having to do any sewing. And that way we have a cute little water spout on top. Now next we'll want to grab our safety eyes. We want to place these on the front between rounds 10 and 11 about, and you want to do them centered. You can play around with them to see where you like them best. I do them about 5 to 6 inches apart, right in between those wheat stitch rows. We're simply going to set them in place, make sure that you like your placement, and then attach the backing to those safety eyes. Now, if you are doing a version for someone very young, I suggest grabbing some black yarn and you can create your eyes by embroidering them on the front. Now, there are some tools that can make snapping these together a little bit easier. I have one, I just can't find it, but these ones really aren't too bad to just snap on with your thumbs. Now we're going to be switching to our white yarn here, and I'm just going to move my stitches to be underneath the tail. So we're going to just do a couple of stitches and single crochet in the blue. So I'm going to do 2 stitches, and these do not count as an entire round. We're just shifting our round over. And now we're going to change to white so that we're set up for the next round. So the second stitch that I'm working here, we're going to grab the white yarn and we are going to pull over and finish this last stitch with the white yarn. And that has now set us up to work with the white yarn on the coming rounds where we will be doing the bottom. You can go ahead and fasten off the blue yarn, and you can leave any and all of these tail ends just hanging out on the inside. And now we're ready to be doing some decreasing with this white yarn. We're going to start this round out by single crocheting 2 together, and you can mark this as the first stitch of the round, and then single crochet into the next 6 stitches. And that's going to be our repeat around. So we're going to single crochet 2 together, and then single crochet into the next 6 stitches. And then repeat that all the way around. And at the end of round 1 of the bottom, we will have a total of 42 stitches. And now we are ready for round 2. And for round 2, we're still going to be doing some decreasing. We are going to single crochet 2 together, marking the very first stitch of this round. And then we are going to single crochet into the next 5. And that's our repeat around for round 2. And at the end of round 2, we will have a total of 36 stitches. Now for rounds 3, 4, and 5, I'm going to do rounds 2, 3, 4, and 5 off camera because it's all so similar. For round 3, we're going to single crochet 2 together and then single crochet in the next 4 and repeat that around, and we'll have 30 stitches. For round 4, we're going to single crochet 2 together, then single crochet 3, and then repeat that around, and we'll have 24 stitches. And for round 5, we will single crochet 2 together, single crochet 2, repeating that all the way around, and we will have 18 stitches, and then we're going to come back. All right, so after decreasing to 18 stitches, we still have a hole left. We don't want to close it without stuffing it. So you're going to want to grab your fiber fluff, or if you have a ton of leftover yarn scraps, we are going to throw all those in here and we're going to stuff this whale. Now the key to stuffing amigurumi honestly is to not overstuff. You don't want to stretch your stitches. You don't want to make it so that it's so stiff it's not squishable and lovable. So stuff it until you get the desired stuffing, but do not overstuff. All right, now that we have him stuffed, we only have 2 rounds left in order for us to finish out this whale. So we're just doing 2 more rounds of decreasing. So for round 6, we're going to move that stitch marker. We're going to single crochet 2 together and then single crochet 1. And we're going to be repeating that all the way around. And we will decrease to a total of 12 stitches at the end of round 6. I love using a stitch marker. I hope you are too, because it saves sanity. All right, so final round, we are simply going to be single crocheting 2 together all the way around. And now this will bring the stitch count to 6, and this is going to be our final round. Now, after finishing off this last round, we can fasten off, leaving a tail end, because we'll want to grab our yarn needle and close this opening. Now we're going to be looping through the front loop only of the remaining 6 stitches around. Once you have looped through all 6 stitches, we're simply going to pull it tight to close. And if you have a little bit of a nub here at the end, you can use your yarn needle to pull that down into, so I go right down the center, I'm going to pull it into the whale to make it a little bit flatter, like so. And then we're just going to weave in our end. Now this is such a dark yarn, I don't really know how well this is going to show up, but especially on lighter color yarns, if you want to add some blush, it just adds a cute little cheeky look to it. I just simply grab my own blush, or you can grab eyeshadow and a brush, a makeup brush, and you can just paint that on. It just adds a little bit of touch to the character to finish it out. You can't really see it as well on the darker version, but it's cute on the lighter version. And just like that, we have another cute little whale. Notice the size difference in these when you're using different weights of yarn. This is a DK weight. This is a worsted weight. Both were made with the same crochet hook. Actually, I ended up making this one with the 4mm, but I kept my tension a little bit looser. And then, like I said, if you're going to work it with that bulky Lion brand fuzzy yarn, go up a hook size for sure. Maybe even up to an H hook size. You still want to make sure whenever you're changing the hook size that you have a fabric that you're not going to have stuffing coming through. You want a firmer fabric for amigurumi, but you also want to be comfortable working those stitches and not having it be too much of a strain on your hands. This little whale is so cute, and he is part of a collection that I have available that has quite a few sea creatures in it with the Wheat Stitch amigurumi. It's super fun to make, a great gift, and the ad-free PDF also has some printables in it if you want to sell these at markets and have a cute little tag, or if you're giving them as a gift. I have some printable tags with the ad-free PDF. Thank you so much for joining me. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, like this video, and come back for some more fun projects soon.